Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So Artur Beterbiev defeats Dimitry Bivol by a majority decision, a razor-thin majority decision, to become the new, undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world. First undisputed champion since Michael Spinks, not Roy Jones. Roy Jones was never the lineal light heavyweight champion. First and foremost, this was an excellent fight. Had a bit of everything. Technical skills on both sides. It was a chess match. There were exchanges. There were momentum switches. There were two contrasting styles. Multiple rounds in this fight were very hard to score. I'll say it right now. It needs a rematch. It needs a rematch because to me, this wasn't a decisive victory for Beterbiev, nor would it have been for Bivol if he got the decision. For me, it was one of those fights. I will say though, I felt that the commentary I was watching on DAZN, they were riding Bivol hard. Hard. And don't get me wrong, there were moments in this fight. He was class, he was quality. 1-2s, 1-2-1s. Great movement side to side, good distance control. Like the first 3 rounds, for example, I felt he completely outboxed Beterbiev. Beterbiev was a bit slow starting in this fight for me. Bivol was razor sharp on the jab, razor sharp on the straight right, and I felt Beterbiev was definitely guilty of following Bivol, especially in the first 2. He upped the pace in the 3rd round in terms of like getting closer to Bivol. Bivol was having to move a bit more, but he really wasn't letting go of his shots. So after 3 rounds, I had it 3 rounds to zip for Dimitry Bivol. But after the 3rd round, I felt Beterbiev started to apply the pressure. I felt he started to get around the side of the guard of Bivol, and I felt Bivol's output dropped, especially the jab. And I felt that was the case for rounds 4, 5, and 6. I felt these rounds were pretty clear Beterbiev rounds. I understand that Bivol was catching shots on the gloves, but so was Beterbiev in these rounds. And throughout this whole fight, both guys were catching a lot of shots on the gloves. But the first half of this fight was a fight of 2 halves. First 3 went to Bivol. The next 3 went to Beterbiev. Bivol was the ring general in the first 3. Beterbiev was the ring general in the next 3. The 7th round is key for a lot of people, I think. Both guys were buzzed in this round. Both guys were pretty circumspect early on. Bivol was boxing. Beterbiev was trying to slowly apply pressure. Both guys had a bit of success. Bivol caught Beterbiev with a good left hook. It kind of backed up Beterbiev. Bivol then follows up, but he gets greedy and gets caught with a counter jab, a real hard counter jab. And Bivol was hurt a lot worse than Beterbiev was. However, in round 7, you could argue maybe Beterbiev got outlanded. So what do you favour? Do you favour the slightly more landed punches, I'd say, from Bivol? Or do you prefer that Beterbiev hurt Bivol more? Because bear in mind, it was a close round in regards to punches landed anyway. So round 7, that's one of those rounds. Rounds 8 and 9, close rounds again. I felt Bivol definitely won round 9. I think round 8 was pretty close from recollection. Again, it was like the boxing of Bivol versus the pressure of Beterbiev. Beterbiev started to apply more of a body attack in the second half of this fight. Some good hooks to the body, both right hooks and left hooks. But Bivol was pulling off some lovely pull counter right hands as Beterbiev was coming in. And you could tell both guys really respected each other. Like Bivol, people say Bivol can't punch. Bivol can punch. He just doesn't set his feet that much. And sometimes his technique isn't the best in terms of power punching. In this fight, I felt he held his feet a little better. Definitely got the respect of Beterbiev. But rounds 8 and 9, I felt he could have gone one apiece. But for me, the last 3 rounds were definite Beterbiev rounds. I felt there was an uptick in pressure in the last 3 rounds. Rounds 10, 11, 12. 11 and 12 are not arguable. 10 was close, relatively so, but I still felt Beterbiev did the better work. 11 and 12, I felt Beterbiev kind of set about Bivol, especially to the body. Bivol was kind of shelling up, backing up, got himself caught on the ropes a few times. And Beterbiev swarmed him as he usually does his opponents. So, for me, man, I look at this fight extremely close. I'll be honest. To be quite frank, when I look at this fight, I think the fairest scorecard is actually probably a draw. But I'd have to watch it back. I think 116, 112 to Beterbiev is too much, to be quite frank. I felt it was a draw, 115, 113 either way. I felt that's about right. But, you know, Beterbiev winning the fight, I've got no complaints. There's an argument for him to win. Ignore the commentary of the zone. I felt they were dreadful, quite frankly. Serge, who was it? Darren Barker, Barry Jones. Who's that other idiot? I forget his fucking name. Chris Mannix on. Chris Mannix actually had a pretty good score. I think he scored it a draw. It's kind of weird. I don't rate Chris Mannix's scorecards, but the last couple, I've kind of agreed with him, to be honest. The last couple of times I've seen his scorecards. But, you know, it's one of those fights. I felt the boxing, the flashier boxing of Bivol got a bit too much credit, whereas the more rugged pressure of Beterbiev didn't really get the credit from the commentators, despite Beterbiev landing. Bivol was definitely more shook up in this fight. He sustained more damage, there's no doubt about it. For me, anyway. But, you know, there were so many close rounds in this fight. Some people are going to cry bad decision, but no. No, not a fight with this many close rounds. I'll have to go and watch it back, to be honest with you. But I think, personally, from watching it live, I felt the draw would have been about right, to be honest with you. What I will say, regardless of how you scored it, how I score it on a rewatch, I don't think there was a decisive winner here. Personally. So I'd like to see a rematch. You know, people are going to say, Beterbiev's corner, they said he needed a knockout. Well, that doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things when it comes to scoring fights. Bivol himself, I believe, said Beterbiev won. So, I mean, it's one of those fights. It's one of those fights for me. Could have gone either way, draw. One of those rare fights that could genuinely have gone either way. When most people say that, it's usually not the case, but I feel in this one it is, to be honest with you. What I will say, again, levels of boxing here, excellent. And Bivol also showed that you can box and move without being a spoiler, without holding, without fouling. He boxed a really good fight, man, in rounds, in parts. But at times I felt he gave the play away. There were certain rounds in the second half where he gave away the jab. He neglected the jab. Maybe it was because Beterbiev was trying to counter it as this fight went on with his overhand, and we mentioned that in the prediction. Bivol is open for that shot. So maybe that overhand put Bivol off throwing the jab, but for me it was a damn close fight. But yeah, what do you say? How do you guys see this one? I need to watch it again. But I felt both guys boxed a good fight. I will say, and I'll keep on saying, another thing I'd like to add. I do think Beterbiev was a super slow starter in this one. He usually is slow to start, but I've not seen him start this slow, to be honest with you. I felt he looked a little stiff early on. He looked a lot better. He looked fresher in the last 3 rounds than he did in the first half of his fight, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, Beterbiev wins majority decision. Some are going to score it for Bivol. Some are going to have it a draw. Some are going to have it Beterbiev. To me, it's one of those fights, guys. Anyway, share your thoughts below. Been your guy, Del Boy. Peace!